Hallöchen, liebe Zuschauer und willkommen zurück zu Let's Play The Stanley Parable. Wir sind hier wieder in Stanleys Büro und wollen heute mal schauen, was der Erzähler uns denn zeigen will, damit wir auf ihn hören und seine Weisheit teilen. Mal sehen.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Nein, das hat Stanley nicht vor. Stanley möchte nämlich durch die rechte Tür und dann mal ganz schnell wieder zu seinem Lieblingskranaufzug Dingenskirchen.
Stanley came to a set of
Two open doors.
This was not the
Ja.
correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ja, guck dir den Raum an. Richtig schön hier, ne? Geil.
Yes,
Ja.
truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Hör auf, dich selbst zu schlagen. Gut, alles klar.
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Okay, ich verstehe das ja.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Ja, und jetzt wollen wir mal rausfinden, für wen das ist.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Sind wir da wirklich bereit zu? Herr Erzähler, was willst du uns da antun? Ich hab Angst. Uah!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Okay. Puh, Stanley, jetzt geht's um alles oder nichts. Ich bin gespannt. Was passiert? Hallo? Hallo? Apartment 427. Stanley, kann es sein?
Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Nee, das ist mir jetzt alles zu blöd.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Willst du mich verarschen? Ich hab dir vertraut. Ich hab ihm wirklich vertraut. Und jetzt das? Das ist... Doch, komm schon. Okay,
This
jetzt
is a
seh.
very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Was? Good morning, employee 427. Press I on your keyboard. Und was, wenn ich es nicht mache? Was, wenn ich mich mit dieser Schaufensterpuppe begnüge? Na? Stanley, ne? Also ich muss ja sagen, für jemanden, der so organisatorisch ist wie du, ist das eigentlich die perfekte Frau, oder? Okay, Mama.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ist aber wieder nicht nett. Please press O.
Look at him there, pushing buttons,
guck
doing
mal,
exactly
Schreibtisch.
what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Please press M. Okay, M.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful.
Ooh.
And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Ja, Fernsehen.
And so he began
Was?
to fantasize about his own
Mein
job.
Fernseher ist weg.
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Das ist gerade echt nicht nett. Also das ist echt eine harte Gesellschaftskritik hier gerade über die komplette Story von The Stanley Parable und das ist ziemlich traurig.
So, he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Prepare dinner?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Das ist nicht lustig. Das ist echt nicht lustig.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Das ist... Ich liebe dich!
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Warte, jetzt ist das Bett bestimmt auch gleich weg.
And I'm trying to
Nee,
tell him
es ist da.
that in this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Press 2 to be at work in the morning. Nö. Erzähl Ali, du hilfst mir jetzt. Ich mach das jetzt, wir machen das nicht. Wir bleiben jetzt einfach... Ich halte das nicht mehr aus!
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Press R to question nothing.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And
Und Stanley ist gestorben. Das ist echt ein hartes Ende, wenn man mal so drüber nachdenkt. Alle anderen sind ja so lustig, aber das ist jetzt irgendwie im Grunde genommen hinterfragt das komplette Konzept des Spiels. Und da wo ich jetzt weitermachen will, da brauchen wir leider das Büro am Anfang, deswegen starte ich nochmal neu. Das gefällt mir besser.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ich such doch gar nicht. Du hast mir gerade klar gemacht, wie sinnlos mein Leben ist. Deswegen springe ich jetzt aus dem Fenster. Ich muss hier nur irgendwie auf den Schreibtisch kommen oder... Oh. So, du Sausack. War's das wert? Ich gehe jetzt. Ich hau ab. Immer wiedersehen, schnöde Welt. Hä?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in?
Ja.
Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Einzig auf diesen Gang jetzt. Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, ja, scheiße.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart.
Aber es hat doch keinen Sinn. Verstehst du's nicht?
Right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit.
Aber es macht keinen Sinn mehr. Verstehst du's nicht?
All of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible.
Nein,
how long
das
you
hat
can
doch keinen
maintain.
Sinn. Lass mich leben. Kommt denn nein?
There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old, and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable, and lives an existence quite terrible.
Ja.
And if you are not strong, and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
Ja. Er fasst
You
es.
too will become quite unbearable.
Das ist nicht nett. Dieser Mann, er hasst uns. Vielleicht kann ich mich mit ihm gut stellen. Irgendwie. Ich sag ihm jetzt einfach sein Papier. Oh, guck mal, was Süßes. Oh, guck mal, was Süßes. Oh, guck mal, was Süßes.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
So, pass auf jetzt. Ich erzähle dir den Trick hier mit dem Rausspringen. Ich finde den gut. Ich zeig dir jetzt, wie klasse der war. Und dann sagst du mir bitte, dass mein Leben wieder einen Sinn hat. Okay? Okay. Danke. Flupp.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Nö, ich finde den gut.
Then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Okay, ja. Wunderschön. Ich denke, das hat mich gerade wieder ein wenig aufgebaut. Stanley, vielleicht macht dein Leben doch einen Sinn. Zurück. Stanley, ich weiß, es ist nicht einfach, aber wir können das. Wir können das. Ich gebe dir jetzt eine kleine Verschnaufspause. Drück mal wieder deine Knöpfe hier am PC. Bis zum nächsten Mal, Stanley. Wir machen was draus. Wir machen was draus. Bis dahin.